Whatever happens, happens, man.
If I have to mute myself, then I totally will.
I think today, Grant, you have to use your inside voice.
My inside voice? I got
Like that. Use your
that?
Grant ASMR voice, like how far down is your portfolio? Blink if it's over 80%.
How's this?
That's better. Boys, I want to congratulate you both because we are at our 10th episode, our
10th
double digits, and we made it, and we're still here, raising the roof.
And someone told me officially today. Someone told me officially today. Hey, I'd like your help because
What's up,
you
Billy?
guys have
Hey,
such
Billy.
a massive audience, and I was like, oh, okay. There's Billy. Got it. I was
We
like,
got a massive audience, dude.
I was like, yeah. What do you?
Mm.
There we go.
Oh wait, can you
Oh.
go back to the CNN look? I like that. Yeah. I need to get taller.
Yeah, man, look.
Hold on. I need to get taller. Oh, there I am.
You know, we should actually do
Yeah,
this
there we go.
set up now and again, but then actually show our portfolio value. Like Grant,
Negative.
Tick off.
Yeah, negative.
5%. Jay's is like goose egg invests in self. Jarrett's like
Exactly.
Best in self. Dude, what a fresh roast. The second Grant gets his mic working, he just comes for everybody.
Here we go. We're back at it.
We're back
What's up, everybody?
back in the lab.
back in the lab.
God.
Okay, so what's going on this week? I mean, we've got a lot to talk about with the merge, but nothing to talk about with the merge, right?
Mhm.
But you were talking about NFTs, Jarrett. What was going on your mind when you brought up the topic of NFTs?
I think we were also talking about in the group chat between us that basically thinking about PFPs. And I think, Grant, you brought up a good idea that there's always going to be like need for, oh, what's up, John? There's
What's up,
always going to
John?
be need for hype and stuff, but that maybe PFPs weren't working. And I was just kind of throwing out the idea that since mints now, and if Tomas is on, he'll totally, hey, what's up, Ken? If Tomas is on,
Ken.
he'll totally speak to this. But this idea of free mints is going to change the game. And I think it's going to make it, hey, Roger, I think it's going to make it really not early profitable for projects. And therefore, they may not, like, it's going to keep people out. Because I think for a while, at least in 2020 and 2021, NFTs was like, create a project, create a Discord, get some bots, get your Twitter hot, get whatever else, get Discord, do a bunch of spaces, and then sell out your mints. Or at least sell at a good amount, and then you have some liquidity, and then you can start to actually build back some of your promise in the roadmap. But with this whole idea of free mints coming out, where you may have to grind a whitelist, so there's still some like exclusivity, like I had the access to
Whitelist grinding. Jeez,
I know whitelist grinding, aka the adult hazing that apparently sanctioned. I think it's being very prohibitive because I think a lot of people unfortunately saw it kind of as like a, an easy way to create liquidity for your project. Whereas it's like, no, if you do a free mint with the whitelist grinding, aka the adult sanctioned hazing, you actually have to come with marketing money. You actually have to come with a little bit of an investment to do that. And I think that that's where NFTs are. And I just thought maybe we could talk about where we think NFTs are going to go. I showed the Bushi that I got, I think last week when we were talking about AI.
I've
But
been
I
telling
just
everybody about Bushi since then.
good. Please talk about Bushi as much as possible. So, anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there, see what you guys are thinking about NFTs, because I bought my Bushi less than 10 days ago, almost right before last week's episode. But
I want to show you
rarity.
a project.
Yeah, Jay, if you could share anything, that'd be great. And then also, we can talk about other people leveraging NFTs like Melania Trump. So there's that. But Grant, when I talk about it, you have to keep a straight face the entire time.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's the January 6th commemorative stone of the.
It's actually Fidgetal. You actually get a piece of the Capitol.
You get a free pass to FBI prison. My God.
Well, it's actually tokenized. So
it's tokenized.
I feel like Jay's he's in the depths of his saved things on LinkedIn or Twitter right now. But here comes the fire.
Here we go. So check it out. And this is
Okay,
coming
hold
from
on.
my BlackBerry. So no one laugh at my BlackBerry. Okay, first of
What?
all.
Wait, what is that, Jay?
There's this collection.
Have a black.
Jay, what
Yes,
is
I have a
that?
BlackBerry. Check it out. Check it out on my BlackBerry. This
that a-
collection.
Wait. We should
No, no, stop.
this photo into an NFT.
Yeah. Stop, Jay. Jay, hold on, wait.
Here we go.
No. Wait. Is that a newer BlackBerry?
Yeah, this one came out in like maybe 2018 or something.
How
This
much
is
was
the
it?
last one that they made. Maybe like $800 or something at the time.
That was the
This is
last one that they made? That's
The
cool as
last one
shit,
that they
man.
made, yeah.
So he's real time using this for those who are popping in right now.
Yeah.
So like let's let him finish his thought here because he's actually
Yeah.
using that.
Get out of here.
I
This
can't
NFT
believe it
collection,
right now.
it's
Man,
called
it's-
Color NFT collection, right? It's all they're doing is colors. So
Right,
you can
right.
randomly get a color.
Now,
And I
this
think it's
isn't a
pretty
new
cool
one. I've
'cause
seen
you
this
buy-
one before.
Oh, you've seen this before? Yeah. So you buy
I
the
don't know if it was
color.
the same one, but I've seen something like it where they were just taking like hexadecimal colors.
Yeah, it's I think
Billy?
it's RGB. But
Billy,
you
Billy says, Billy's roasting. How am I listening to a podcast about crypto that started after that phone was?
yo, get out of here. Billy,
Honestly,
get out of here.
Jay, we were going to talk about NFTs, but we may need to do a review of the tech you use day to day.
I
because-
have an iPhone as well, by the way. Just that I still have and use my
I just
BlackBerry.
love, you love your device. I get it. That's so fun. Okay, quick tech review. What do you got, Jarrett?
Well, I'm assuming Jay's computer, which we can't see, has a huge butt on the back because
Oh,
it's something
come
about
on.
it's like a gateway. It's like a
Nope.
Pentium.
A gateway. I
It's a
haven't even
gateway.
even referred to a gateway.
Nope.
It's a gateway. It came in that the cow box, and Jay took it out. He's like, "Oh, I got this sweet deal off Slick Deals. It was $4,
Nope.
free shipping." When
That's
did
a
you
Lenovo.
finally let go of the beeper? Billy says, "Jay,
Yo,
we need to have an intervention. Is it still on your hip?"
why is Billy coming at me, man?
Everyone's coming for you, Jay, today. You just
Billy's got nothing but love. I'm here to tell you. Hey, I had a beeper. For like, this is how fast tech moves. Like, I remember when beepers like came in hard and I was like, okay, I'm a big kid now. I got to play hard. And then I got into the beeper where you wrote words with numbers, but like upside down. You know what I'm saying?
like
you actually wrote,
hello. Yeah.
hello or
Oh,
messages or calls.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I got into that, and I don't think that lasted 4 or 6 months before. Yeah, I mean, we came out with show them the Razor flip phone. That
That was 2000s. Razor flip phone was
Yeah,
2000.
yeah,
I was in
yeah,
college. That was a
2000.
hot commodity. I could not afford that.
So wait. So let's back up though.
Two-way
Jay,
pages.
You
Yeah.
were showing us the color collection though. What stood out about you, to you about the color collection?
Yeah. So I like the fact that you buy the color, and then
Okay.
that sort of gives you access to all of the other collections that they're gonna bring out afterwards. And you're able to get free minting of the other collections that come afterwards. But what's really cool about it, I think, is based on the color that you have. So like if you have a specific version of red, every other NFT that they bring out afterwards that has that shade of red, you get royalties for if your color matches that shade. And I think that's
Now,
pretty cool.
I like this. This is pretty creative, but let me ask, like, it feels like, correct me, right? It feels like there's a little bit of Ponzinomics there.
How so, Grant?
So if you think about it, like you're in this, you're the first entry, and you paid for did you pay for the initial mint, or is this free mint?
I'm pretty sure you have to pay for the initial mint.
And then let's say you got the shade of red, and then they're going to roll
Yeah.
out other collections of red. So you get on the show and we hype like this color collection's awesome. People are like, maybe there's some alpha here. They jump over and they're like, okay, the red is coming out. Now you're incentivized to hype this thing, but is there any value other than releasing the collection of red? Like oh God, I hate this question. What's the utility?
Wow. You couldn't even stop your own emotional
I couldn't
inertia that
stop.
went there. So I don't understand the Ponzinomics, but I do think that it's one of these things because I'm part of Journey Crypto, which is some people would say it's a blue, a blue check NFT. Not blue check. What's the word I'm looking for?
What to do?
Blue chip. Excuse blue check. Wow,
yeah.
we're almost leaking some alpha here, boys. Blue chip NFT. But the thing with his is, so I got it, and then I've gotten 2 other or 3 other free mints of other things, or airdrops, which is cool because when you add up the price of those, if I wanted to sell it from an airdrop, but I do think it's problematic long term if it's like buy NFT A to then get stuff from NFT B, which then you get stuff from NFT C, because it's creating this value ladder and value chain that's tied together where when one falls out, being the base layer, I think this is maybe where the Ponzinomics, everything kind of just crumbles. And so you're building on top of future promise. And I think that over a long enough period of time won't work. And there's a really good example of this, which is Psychedelics Anonymous. Brendan Gillen, who came on More Than Blockchain, he for me is a guru. When one day when we're back doing more guest stuff, he should come on. But whatever he says about NFTs, I always listen. He's literally like, oh, you want to get in on Mutant Apes when it was at 5. It went to like 42 ETH. He told me to get in on Psychedelics Anonymous when it minted. I didn't. He's made probably 6 figures on that. I don't even know. Yeah. And he just has his ear to the grindstone and knows about all this stuff. But he's actually backing now. He's starting to sell a lot of his PA sets, his Psychedelics Anonymous sets. Psychedelics Anonymous is a very interesting NFT collection because you have to have 4 different NFTs to have a set. So there's about 38 or 39,000 total NFTs that are part of Psychedelics Anonymous. So they basically took 4 different 10,000 sets, put them together, and then you had to have this to do this and this to do that. But it was kind of like a Lego. But once you have all of them and the price goes up, and then they're just promising stuff on the roadmap, and stuff is going to be like other NFTs. At some point, you're just like, I'm just having all these NFTs, but what's the utility? As you said, like seriously, like, what is this actually going to bring to me other than maybe I'm riding the wave of the bull and it's going up? Then what? Yeah. And I think that a lot of NFTs are running into that. And I think this winter is going to be brutal for projects. And, you know, I talked to Metamoms the other day because they were going to drop, I think in June, and they decided not to. And they're kind of holding back, and they're making sure that when they do come, they're coming correct. Because I think with NFTs, you have one chance. You know, you're up at bat, you get one strike. There's not even a ball. The pitch is coming down, like it's coming down the lane. You're going to swing and you're going to hit or you're not. And, you know, if you want to continue with that baseball analogy, like you can, but there's no second chance. And so that's Grant, is that why you, going back to Jay's color, is that color thing, is that why you thought it was maybe Ponzinomics due to the fact that things are just tied to one another?
Well, no. So let's talk about what is the difference between an MLM and a Ponzi. An MLM, they're structured exactly the same. Like you said, the ladder, right? The value chain or the ladder chain, they're actually structured that way. And I believe in like affiliate programs, multi-payouts. I believe in that. And MLM is structured that way where the person has the opportunity to buy the product itself or to become a salesperson of that product. And then they have an upline and a downline. I actually think MLM is quite valid. In my 20s, I did over 30 different MLMs. We'll profile that in another, and I could tell you stories, son, of selling mushroom coffee, which was actually my favorite product, to selling vegan water filters.
Grant, what? I don't know you guys, but I'm getting a lot of red flags. Jay's still using a beeper. Grant is going to try to get me to buy Herbalife. No, I'm not going to. Sorry, Grant, continue.
I learned a lot. I learned about sales, but I got out because I burned the relationships because too many of them, I found out, were actual Ponzi's. And a Ponzi is this: when there is actually no or little incentive to sell the actual underlying product, and you're just selling to sell more downline. And that's what makes a Ponzi.
Everybody's picking up on it. Like,
So it's just like this guy was high value until, right? Like this was a high value until.
Now we know the truth.
You could still DM like we're okay.
I'm a changed person now. It's not the same.
I'm a changed person.
Yeah, exactly.
That out of here.
Do you see what Billy says? He's like, I'm seriously, I'm looking at exits right now.
The new Grant coin, MLM at its finest. Listen, we could hold we could hold an entire course on how to get MLM wrong and right. But that aside, what makes a Ponzi is when there's no true value in the underlying perceived product. There's only value in reselling more resellers. And when you mentioned the color thing, so let's back up and not pick at Jay's thought here. Jay, when they talk about the roadmap of the color schemes and stuff, is there a use for it? Maybe for designers, or is there other value, or is it just collectibles?
Yeah, it's just the only value is in if you have the color and they bring out another collection and your color matches, like, and you can have a collection with multiple colors. So everyone whose color matches, they get some of the royalties. That's the only utility.
Well, I mean, like Jarrett's talking, if there ends up being these community things where you have a collection of reds, we'll say, and the reds turn into like a guild or a faction or a group or some thing that actually has functionality.
I'm with NFTs. Oh my gosh, here we go. Don't give them any ideas, man.
I
Awesome.
think
What
this
are
is,
you
I'm not
doing?
sure, but I think this is the ace I was hanging out with Roger earlier.
Yeah.
I just want to give a shout to Roger. I had to meet with Roger Jay on your recommendation.
Oh yeah, what's up, Roger?
And their crew was excited. And maybe if we get into some of Jarrett's earlier questions, like actual future of NFTs and use, Roger's got some interesting things that I'd like to share with you guys that I pulled away. We had some healthy critiques of some of what was being pitched, and we were just advising each other. But overall, I like where they're going with actually making value out of the NFTs. We could talk about that in a bit.
But Jay, back to your
Yeah.
the color NFT. I think it's very interesting. So can you break it down for me? So you buy this certain type of red, and then they come out with another NFT collection, and there's a bunch of like trolls or something. And for every NFT that has that RGB color red, you would get a royalty for all of those sales. Is that how that would work?
Yeah. So like if they have the troll and the troll had, you know, the hat was red and but the face was yellow and then whatever something else was blue. Depending on how much of the image was red, you'd get that percentage of the royalties.
Dude, someone is writing a smart contract of all smart contracts to do that because that is renobulous. Yeah, it's very complex. So that's why it's almost like one of those things that it seems too good. Like there's been a lot of cryptocurrencies over the years. There was one, oh my God, what's it? Let me actually look it up. And my buddy bought into it, and I was just like, it was literally trying to solve all the world's problems. It was like cures cancer, cures AIDS, you're gonna get friends, you're gonna get merch. And I'm just like, dude, if it cures, like, your project should focus on one thing. That's my take, right? And if it gets ancillary things, that's cool. Or tertiary things, that's cool. But like, it should be just one thing, I think. And this was the Evergrow coin. It was like DeFi, like you keep it staked. It's gonna do all this stuff. They were gonna have an NFT platform. They were gonna be a DAO. It was basically take all of the acronym jumble, you shake it into one basket, and that's what they were promising. And I'm like,
alphabet soup. You take all the alphabet in and shake it up.
I was like, dude, I stay away from that like the plague, man. I don't go near that. So I just wonder though, if with what they're trying to do, it gets too ridiculous. Because then they're like, oh yeah, and then we're gonna make a partnership with Bored Apes. And if your red is part of the Bored Apes, you're gonna get part of their it's just like, I don't know. When I hear NFTs that are too complicated, I'm just like, not really about it. That's
Oh,
my that's
I
my
forgot
take.
we have a website. That's cool. No, put that back up. I keep forgetting we have a website. Sorry.
We have a website.
that has
real
nothing
quick,
to
real quick, do us a favor. We're trying to grow our LinkedIn page.
Oh my
Wild.
God.
Someone built us a website.
Well, Jay doesn't know what the internet is, so the idea of a website is going to confound him.
Blackberry. Wait a minute. You could search in a Google bar and there's not a Netscape list. Oh, that's fine.
What are we talking about? Netscape was way before my time.
I was talking about NFTs, and then Jay's like, "Oh, we have a website."
But no, guys, do us a favor. If you're enjoying any of this or you think anyone can get value of what we're going to actually break down as it comes to crypto, NFTs, and financial freedom at large, please visit our LinkedIn and follow, because once we hit 150 followers, we can go live directly there. So that would be a huge help, or just visit our website. So, I mean, the color thing, I mentioned the color thing before, and I actually think I bought like this, like I have a brand, State of the Spark, and I bought my Spark green, and in being a web designer, you have hex code and everything's unique. And I bought the NFT and I sold it pretty quickly because there was no God, I sound like such a hater. There's no real roadmap. And I like the idea of collections. And Jerry, you mentioned collections for, it wasn't Journey, it was the other one you were mentioning.
Oh yeah, Psychedelics Anonymous.
Psychedelics Anonymous. Now, another group killing this was Mark Zuckerberg's sister. I think it's his sister, Randy Zuckerberg, had Hugs. And it was a pretty groundbreaking group where they did create guilds. If you collected like 2 of the NFTs of the space people, you know, you got involved in one. And then I think I mentioned this to Jarrett back in the day. If you collected 2, you got access to their PR firm. And so like
Oh,
there was like serious
that's
utility,
cool.
like, yeah, Jay, you mentioned you might join an incubator for your Web3 podcasting advisory group or whatever you're kind of doing or what you're kind of brainstorming.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a great NFT set to go, oh, well, I could go like try to hire, you know, a PR firm and help me kind of figure this out. Or I could just go buy these 2 NFTs, which right now, because of the market, they're on discount. And if this person is actually connected to Randy Zuckerberg, Mark Zuckerberg's sister, there might be some juice behind that, you know? And so they had like a touching grass group that would actually leave IRL, like retreats outdoors and stuff for mental health and stuff. So it was the Hugs. Check that out because that was
Ro-
another
Seems like
collection.
Roger knows about it.
Does Roger know about it?
Seems like it.
Yeah,
Roger is killing the space.
She's killing the space. Oh, wait. I don't know if that means good or bad.
Oh,
Oh,
that's true.
I see that as good, but maybe
Okay.
it's not. I don't.
Yep.
I
Okay,
actually,
he
I
said it's
actually,
definitely his sister. Yeah.
I actually have a question for you guys, and it's related to Zuckerberg. I was on this guy had posted earlier on LinkedIn, and he basically, I'm forgetting who he was, and I'd like to call him out because maybe he's even watching, but he was saying that he thinks Meta is really going to take over with the metaverse, and they're really going to
Yeah.
be a huge player in Web3. And I just wanted to get y'all's takes on
Agreed.
that.
Yes.
Jay,
100%.
Because I got my own take based on what I was talking about.
100%. They're going to take over. Have you heard what the new version of the Oculus is called? The
what's
name
it
of it?
called?
They're calling it the Cambria. Cambria, like Cambridge Analytica, the Cambria. Mac is trolling the entire world.
That's almost in the conspiracy zone. He's
Yeah, because Cambria also comes from, isn't it like the Cambria explosion? That's like how
the
the
Cambria explosion, maybe.
yeah, that's how the
Okay,
universe
yeah.
was formed.
I
So
like Jay's take though, because I'm
like
prone to.
it's way too close to Cambridge Analytica. Like obviously that's what we're all gonna think of. You
that's
know,
what
like
you
he's
think
just
of.
trolling us.
I think
It's just a
intellectual
huge
people,
marketing
maybe.
play.
We should also look up the Latin. Hey, if somebody's watching, look up the Latin and see if the Latin means anything.
Yeah, drop it in the
Drop it
comments
Look it up.
because my take.
I'm
Actually,
looking
Grant,
up on
you
my
want to go ahead and share your take? Yeah, Jay's on his BlackBerry. He's gonna look it up. We'll take 3 minutes with dial up. Grant, you want to share your opinion on it?
So I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook. I bought it on the open for $33. And I held that stock for a long time. Me and Marissa did pretty good with that. And he named one of the largest companies in the world. And back then we thought, how pretentious, how too early is this? Meanwhile, we're over here going Wagmy, and you're early, and yet we're pointing fingers at Zuck for renaming Facebook Meta, changing the Facebook stock tickers Meta. He is now into this so deep that he has to make it work. And I think he did that on purpose. And then he posted this recent picture of the metaverse and it got absolutely trolled. Is Mark blind to how bad this looks? I don't think Mark Zuckerberg's an idiot. I don't think he's the controlling elite, as it were. To his credit, Jeff Bezos bailed and is off on his boat somewhere. And yet Mark is still here investing. So Jay posts Cambria is the Latin word for Wales, as in UK.
Yeah.
not Ocean Wales, the city
No,
of.
no. or country or whatever.
I think
Not
they
really
have
sure.
the technology. I think they have the technology. I think that they are building the architecture underneath. And I think that they're not even focused on the UX because that's just going to come, right? The visuals are just going to come. And this is kind of where Roger Williams' thing is quite interesting. Roger, and I'll give a shout out. I'm not an investor. It's not financial advice. And I'll try to also anonymize things that I think that might be sensitive to what Roger's doing. But he and I were talking just a few hours ago with his crew, somebody in Dubai, some of the people in Houston. And they were just educating me on Li-Fi, light-based internet, wireless internet. And there's a lot of problems I didn't even know existed with Wi-Fi. Like, hospitals can't use it because there's radio frequency interference, and now smart cities are starting to use it, and LED lights can flicker so fast that it kind of do Morse code, but invisible to the human eye. And so the speeds of this apparently like exponentially exceed 5 and 6G, like by volume. And Roger's crew sees this as the future that will basically be the foundation of what is it? Imperceptible like fluidity within the metaverse. Like sometimes there's some lagginess and sometimes there's some delay in gaming, and depending on your connection. But they really believe that not even 5G will fix this. But you have to have a faster technology, and Li-Fi is on the way, and there's some military contracts that are testing Li-Fi right now. And Roger and his crew are building, I think it's mobile blockchain technologies. Let me make sure that's right. No, mobile blockchain solutions. They're building this out to basically be the connector between Web 2 and Web 3, basically what we know as the Wi-Fi world with the DeFi world. I'm sorry, with the, DeFi world. And so what's interesting there is that Meta is building out this architecture. Companies like Rogers will be the connector between, because they're doing like hardware installs and stuff like data centers. So I think Zuck will absolutely, he's got the money, he's got the vision, he's named his company, he's bet the farm on this. He's bet the farm on it. So he will, if he doesn't ride the wave, he will make the wave, and he's able to. We talk about institutional money. I'm not even worried about that. What I am worried about is if companies like Rogers don't get up and running quickly, Facebook, it'll be a monopoly of the future of metaverse. Absolutely. I think that. But I think companies like Rogers stand a chance to be a player, albeit a small player, but to still be a player in that space and prevent people like Mark Zuckerberg from owning the whole space.
I'm hearing a lot of Mark Zuckerberg hate here. I just want to point that out.
Mark Zuckerberg.
No, Grant's giving him love, and you've given him love. And I want to, Roger, I just dropped in the chat here. This is an episode I did on Ready Player One because it really changed the way I actually think about the metaverse. So that's there for people to look at. It's episode 17 of More Than Blockchain. But I saw that and I was like, this is okay. I see it now. I see how this is going to work. I see how everything's going to play a role. And they're working on actually Ready Player One, the second, that's coming out soon. And
isn't that just Ready Player 2?
It's it's Ready Player 2.
Is that really the name of it?
Yes, it is. No, it's Ready Player 2 because I actually have the books upstairs. But my thing with Facebook and Meta and Zuckerberg is that I think the world is looking for more decentralized options. And I think Facebook is way too centralized. Correct. And I think the world is going towards more ecosystems. So eco over ego. And Mark Zuckerberg is the CEO and the head of the board at Facebook. And he runs that thing with an iron fist. And it's his idea of pushing it forward, which is great. He's a visionary. I'm not going to ever say he's not a visionary. He's probably one of the biggest visionaries of our times. But I do think he's going to run into problems because I don't think Gen Z gives a shit about Instagram. I don't think it gives a shit about WhatsApp or gives a shit about Facebook. Because it has TikTok, it has YouTube, and it has Telegram. All things outside of the Zuckverse. So
that feel very decentralized.
Or the security is better. And I know that I think it was Facebook. Was it Facebook or was it Coinbase? It was some centralized exchange or something. But I think Facebook was saying that if they do NFTs or something, and maybe I'm wrong, somebody please correct me. But if they had NFTs in their marketplace, they were going to take like 40 or 50% fees. Like it was going to be just a play for money. And my thing with Zuckerberg and Meta is he's making it as a business decision, not a cultural decision. He's not in Web3 for the community, for this. He's there because he holds billions of dollars of stock. He has his other board members. He has stockholders. It's a public company, and he has to make the decision that's best. And he sees that this is where technology, communication, and how we're all going to interact. So that is where I think there's a huge divide. If you're building something for profit, or if you're building it out of passion, I think the passion goes farther. And that's where I think he has a huge disconnect. And like I just said, generally, Gen Z doesn't really give a shit about Facebook, Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, or any of that. So that's where I think that there's going to be interesting plays.
Well, it can't all be decentralized. And this is something Roger and I spoke about briefly, that like pseudo decentralized. They were kind of talking about, Roger's group was talking about how they're going to release their tokens and their NFTs. And I was like, yeah, but you're talking about owning data centers and just the ownership of like these li-fi data centers, which is brilliant. And it's a smart move. And they can monopolize the market, because basically you'll have a li-fi tower, kind of like a cell tower, but faster. And then you have a data center just below it that will receive, I mean, terabytes more of data per second. And it has to process that and distribute that. I'm like, that's a great hardware possibility. And yeah, there's tokens, but I was like, you got to have someone managing that. You can't like leave that up to a DAO to make a good decision there. And so he agreed, and his team agreed. Yeah, it's a mix. It's an admittedly pseudo centralized, because wisdom says you have to aggregate. If you have to centralize decision making in a leader, a CEO or COO, then you can't decentralize the idea. So maybe let me float that question to you guys. What are we seeing as the evolution of decentralization in a world that, I agree with you, we're bucking the system with Zuck, and we're like, that's cute. It'll never be entirely there, because it's not I love this call it. It's not a cultural decision. But question to you guys, what will it look like to have a healthy, sustainable Web3 company? Will decentralization actually play a role? Or were the perception of decentralization?
I want to take this, Jay, and then I'm going to pass you the mic here. My bigger question is, how does this play into our current financial system? Meaning, can you have a multi-billion dollar Web3 company that doesn't have public traded stock? Can it just stay private and live off its own coin? That's a question which is kind of like a private sale where everyone becomes shareholders. That is something I really can't wrap my head around, because we've never really seen that, right? Like, if you own, are you guys picking up what I'm putting down? Like, the way we kind of have the world is, you get a company, it's going to get big enough, and then you IPO it, and then you're going to get all of this investment because the public is like, that's a good idea. I'm just a retail investor. I want to put my money in, and the Vanguards are going to come in, and the 401ks are going to come in. I can't envision a world yet, because of how small the adoption is still into crypto, even though people, we could argue whether we're early or not. But the fact is, when I'm sitting around, most of my friends, they don't have wallets. They don't even know what MetaMask is. If they saw the MetaMask icon, they would think it's like Lion King from the Metaverse. Yeah, Firefox. So I can't really picture what that would look like. But as far as the decentralization goes, I think that what may become more decentralized is the decision making. What I mean is, I think in the future there could be leaders like Mark Zuckerberg, or anybody, or Jay when he has his huge Web3 podcast network. And what he'll do is he'll say, guys, I've worked with the inner circle, and we've come up with these 3 big ideas, and we're not sure which path to take. And then they'll put that decision out to the people that are part of the DAO or whatever it is. And it's kind of like, if you're in a group of people, if we're all together and there's 10 people and we're trying to figure out where to eat, if we just go on Grubhub and Google Maps and we're trying to figure it out, there's infinite possibilities and we're never going to make a decision. But if I say, hey, there's a good Italian place, there's a great Chinese food place, and there's a good Mexican place, where do we want to go? That guides the vision and it guides the decision making. And that's where I think maybe some of that happens. But like I said, there's 2 things. One is like how decisions are made from the top down, but also being inclusive, or if they're quote decentralized. And then the other one is, how are these things going to be funded? Because anything that's a publicly funded company that has stock is tied through the TradFi system, is tied through the legacy system. And then there's all these things about what they can and cannot do, what they can and cannot say, insider trading and that. Because the way crypto currently is, Elon can go on and be like, I'm buying Doge, and the price rockets and no one has a problem with it, you know? But the legacy system hates that. So there's 2 things: how decisions are made, whether they're centralized or decentralized, and also how are these things funded long term? Those are 2 questions I don't know. We have a bunch of comments, so maybe we should look into this. But Jay, do you want to take, and then we can go to comments?
Yeah, I think Ken is right. I'm going to pick up on it. And Ken Cato's comment. It's definitely going to be a combination of centralization and decentralization.
I agree.
Jad, if I can pick up on what you're saying, I think like a utility token will, from my point of view, will never take you to the point of what an IPO can do for you, because your utility token is literally just based on what is the actual utility, and not necessarily perceived utility, but the actual utility that you're getting from holding this token and being able to use it. Whereas your stock price is just absolutely speculation. That's how you end up with stuff like Enron, and and stock prices that are companies that are way overvalued based on the actual good that they deliver to the world. So you're gonna have to have some amount of both if you want to really create a company that is sustainable and grows to the size of what we expect from big tech companies now. So Grant, you want to jump in?
The SEC will step in. You will not. The idea of let's get around an IPO, let's do a token release, let's airdrop, let's mint for free, even a free mint.
What's up, George?
What's up, George? Oh, gangsters. I still believe, even with free mint, I still believe that the SEC will attempt to regulate even free mints if it's attached to ownership and decision-making of a for-profit entity. So even though we're calling it DeFi and TradFi, when the dust settles on some of these lawsuits, the XRP Ripple lawsuit, and then some of the Coinbase lawsuits that they had about some of the listings, I absolutely think that when the case law will then come of, I don't care if it's a free mint, if you are a part owner of a for-profit institution, if I walk up and gave you a stock certificate of the Spark company, whether I IP'd it or not, I would still be under SEC law. And so if the tokenomics or the NFTs get dragged into ownership, which is why I think Ken's comment here is spot on, there will be a DAO, and we will parse out parts of this company, like a lot of the HR components. What are we going to do for the employee vacation? What sort of benefits should we look at next? Or like community things that we're seeing. I believe that the DAOs will lead that, or the nonprofit arm. Go ahead, Jarrett. What's your thought?
No, finish that nonprofit, because that's
or the nonprofit arm. The DAO will be involved in some of those, but you have to have a centralization of some part to play in a bigger pool, and that's the impetus of any company. If you look at the life cycle, even small business clients of mine, I've had clients now for 7 years, and they hit a growth curve, and then they have to make a decision. Do I have it in the tank to continue to grow, or am I closing? There is no stagnation. I built a company and it's set. The state of a company is never set. It's either improving or degrading. And so like it's just on the upswing or on the downswing. And even multi-billionaires like Mark Zuck, he's got to keep that dream alive and keep innovating, because if he stopped at when Jarrett was member number 12 on Facebook about politics.
It was 14, Grant. It was 14.
14.
If he stayed there, it would already be closed. It has to grow. It hasn't, and he didn't have to grow because he IPO'd. He IPO'd because he has to grow, I think.
I agree. It's the natural evolution of where the company was going. One of the things that I've been thinking about when I think about if we believe right now, let's say that we live in a centralized world, right? And then we're going to go to we're transforming currently into a decentralized world. Like, let's just, we'll try to make it, black and white and binary. I see a lot of parallels to the current energy consumption and the world we live of energy. Because right now we're on fossil fuels, and we know for humanity that we need to decarbonize, right? But I was listening to, oh God, I forget who it was last night. And they were like, well, there's a wrong way to do this and there's a right way to do this. I think it was Coin Bureau. And, you can't turn off nuclear power in the winter. And no, what was it? Yeah, you can't tell people that farmers to stop using fertilizer when they're already in the middle of a drought and famine. Like,
that's right.
We have to be, and even Elon Musk, who runs, Mr. I have cars that run on electricity and batteries. He said very famously at like, I don't know if it was an OPEC meeting, whatever. He's like, no, If I had a switch, I wouldn't turn it off tomorrow. We have to phase it out. We can't just shut the economy down. And I think the same thing is going to happen with decentralization. It's going to take time, but we're going to have to lean on centralization for a while until we're able to make that switch gradually. It's not something we can turn or turn off, turn on and turn off. It's not a switch. It will take the next decade as we kind of move into these things, but I do think it will happen. Slowly. That's kind of my take. And there was actually something that I read, and if I can put it in here, I'll post it actually on Not Crypto Bros on the LinkedIn, which you should all be following. It was by Coin Bureau, and it was about the World Economic Forum, and it was about 27 minutes. And Elon is a walking contradiction. Thank you, Roger Williams. And it was about the future of the Great Reset, which we've all heard, the Great Reset, whatever, but it was so fascinating, and I will put it up, but it's all about how we're going to move towards a world where very few people are going to be owners. A lot of people are going to be renters. It picks up on our conversations about what Newman's trying to do, where it's probably like an Airbnb and a WeWork come together, but for lifestyle and experience and, shared living. And it was really quite shocking. It made me feel very uncomfortable to think about what the World Economic Forum is doing. And maybe we could actually do an entire episode on that once you two have had a chance to watch it, because it's absolutely fascinating.
Maybe
But
we'll
it
do a
ties.
Saturday business episode just on that. Yeah.
Yes, you just dropped our news, which we can share. But that for me, it's like as we go from carbon heavy to carbon neutral to carbon like negative, that's going to be a process, and we can't. There's no easy way to do it. But we're going to have to lean on carbon for a while until we have better technologies. And I think the same thing when it comes from if we're in a centralized world before we get to the decentralized world, because a lot of the things what we're talking about, Ken, is being super reasonable. Is like we have HIPAA, we have all of these things we need to take into account. You're talking about the SEC, but I'm already thinking though, I don't give a shit about all that. Like, pardon the government. If you're listening and you're a government agency, that's cool. But we're going to have these organizations in the future that are very similar. Like if I'm in Colombia and I have my citizenship there, Grant is in the United States and Jay is in Canada and he has his I think it's Petition. I'm not sure if I'm going to butcher that one.
That's it. You got it.
Yes, I got it. We're three people that, as far as the geopolitics, say these guys are three different passport holders. Yeah. So I don't give a shit about the SEC when I have my Colombian hat on, and Jay doesn't either. So I think we're also going to get to a place where it supersedes this idea of national rules. And I think that's going to be a really, really tough transition as well, as the SEC and the FCC, when it comes to communications and all these things that are really kind of dictate the way we live our life, those are just going to fade away, because you're going to start to have DAOs and all these organizations, which we already have, that are going to become more and more prominent. And imagine having a Web3 company. You don't do an IPO because that normally only goes to a certain amount of people who can buy the stock. No, you're going to do the coin, as Jay was saying, the leverage of doing the coin, where then anyone who has access to crypto exchange, whether that's a centralized or a decentralized exchange, can then have access to it. So I think we're moving towards a world that's a lot more decentralized, at least from the geopolitical standpoint, where you're going to have people like somebody in China doesn't give a shit about what the SEC says if they're a part of an NFT program, project. So anyways, I put a lot out there.
Let me riff
pick up, please.
So Ken Cato, who's watching, and I had a phenomenal conversation. At least I thought it was I got a lot out of it. This guy's so intelligent. He was probably bored a little bit with me, but we had a good time. And he's super intelligent. And we talked about a lot of big stuff, like interplanetary stuff. It was really cool. And I'd like to actually bring that up to the group, just like with Roger. He has a very interesting project he's a part of, ZByte. They're doing a lot of cool stuff.
Yep.
What you just made me think of is I don't think we will I'm going to put this out right now. We will never be decentralized, ever, because we're not that type of species. At a species level, when something is what we want, we put resources to it. For example, whether it's the SEC or whether it's the globalized version, because forget the US, you're in Colombia, you're in St. Kitts, but we still want protections. So whether it's government protections or citizen protections, we will still delegate that to somebody. And as soon as we delegate it, there is a form of resource centralization. So I think the term that I'm going to throw out there that I think I will coin, and it's for transitional eras of the human species, it's REcentralization. So what we're seeing, I think, with crypto is we are building the new neuron pathways of transcending, finally, we have the technology not to decentralize, but to transcend truly for the first time our national barriers and reorganize at a grassroots level, but at the global scale. Because our next iteration as a species is globalization, not economically, not politically. Those are the fruit, and those will happen. But as a species, we're so sick of being American or Floridian or Colombian. We're humans. And we're trying to give birth to this. So we're giving birth to new systems. We are re-centralizing and reallocating the resources, because as soon as I give it to Wonderland or Ethereum, I'm giving it to Vitalik, right? There's a form of centralization. Like, it's sidebar, who saw the Mexican hat from ETH Global, the ETH
Oh
Global
yeah,
conference?
I put that up on Twitter and I said, looks like Duolingo's helping out your boy. I would pay a lot of money to hear him speak Spanish.
So re-centralization is what I'm calling for.
So what you're talking about, Grant, I love it. The idea of the re-centralizing, you know, the coming back together, the analyzing of the situation and a reallocation of economic energy or just overall attention and what we want to do with our lives. But I think I was going to talk exactly what George said, or will there be new protocols and standards that replace them?
Yeah.
And I think that smart contracts and algorithms and AI and machine learning, when that gets up and running, we're going to totally go away from national ideas of like rules and laws, and we're going to have something that's bigger than that, and it's going to kind of play out as to how we do stuff. And I do think it's going to be tied more to technology than it is to human discernment, which is going to be for good or worse, right? That could go really, really poorly, right? Cue all the movies where aliens.
I think your Trump NFTs are an extremist version of trying to transcend national limitations.
Trump
This person's
NFTs.
trying to act.
Oh
like the
yeah.
president. He's trying to act like the president superior to the current existing system. And so at every corner, I think you're absolutely right. I think you're starting to see this human reaction to these past limitations, and people are trying to centralize power. But I think good will have its day in some of this, and I think moderation will have its day more than extremism. But I think we're seeing it even in people that we would say are antagonists to freedom. And they don't even know it. I don't think they're being intelligent about it. Like Melania's got her NFT for those watching.
Yeah, for those watching, I shared a link with Jay and Grant before on our group chat. And in the future, we'll have a Discord, or maybe we'll use Geneva, which is a new Discord that's kind of more decentralized if you want. And we'll invite people to see the wacky things we say behind the scenes. That is coming. Grant just dropped it, but I found this because my dad was telling me about it earlier. He's like, you know, because right now, Donald Trump, if you don't know, he's being raided by the FBI for documents, and apparently they were like, Melania, like, does this bother you? And she was like, the only reason why I'm pissed is because it's throwing off my NFT mints. So if you want to go look at those, they're absolutely incredible. And
oh my God, not financial advice.
that is 100% not financial advice, because if you buy a Trump NFT, I mean, it could hit or it could not financially. That's all I'm gonna say on that. It's actually the weirdest project I've ever spoken about on mic ever.
Yeah. And let it not go down, and let you not be taken out of context for that. I remember when Jarrett was backing Melania Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm super behind that. I'm actually an ambassador. I have an affiliate link if you want to. I'm
Definitely
actually
shilling for.
Yeah, I'm in the smart contract. I'm in the affiliate smart contract for Melania. But anyways, I do believe that we're moving towards, and like I said, this World Economic Forum, and I will drop that. I will share that from the Not Crypto Bros on LinkedIn and on Twitter as soon as we're done here. But I do believe we're moving towards a world that is a lot more globalized. Yet at the same time, I feel like in the world, we're pushing towards a world of nationalism and big borders, and you stay out of here. And we're going to, you know, the US government is currently building, there's the new thing called the CHIPS Act, which totally ties into everything that we want to talk about when it comes to tech. Because if you don't have the chips, it's like not having the, you know, the wood to build the homes, right? So it will throw things out of whack. So the US is like, well, if China's going to go into Taiwan, Taiwan makes up like 65% of the chip production. We need to bring that home. We need to bring that in-house. Yeah. So at a time where maybe citizens are looking to be more globalized and connect with people from around the world and really leverage the internet, the governments are shrinking and thinking about their own GDP and trying to say, oh, how do we protect? And it's, you know, it's like fear-based at the government level. But then in the individual level, here we have people from around the world who are chiming in the comments. And so these two things, I'm interested to see, going back, if we want, to Zuckerberg, I'm interested to see how Meta deals with these two things, because it is a publicly traded company within the United States, yet its product goes around the world. So this comes back to the business versus the cultural decision making.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tristan. I think maybe that's
Well, I
a
love
new
that.
viewer.
I love that. Yeah.
haven't seen that name before. Wait, what do you think about? So we talk a lot about how cryptocurrencies might eventually replace fiat. Will the blockchain eventually replace governments?
No.
You think? No? Is that not a thing to be worried about? If
Well,
you are
I
like a
think it's like
government department,
I think it's like asking, will the internet replace governments? And there was a moment in the cyberpunk world between the 80s and 90s where we really thought, look at this technology. It allows me to directly connect with other people and wage revolution, from the Arab Spring to Occupy Wall Street to whatever. That was facilitated on what we know as the internet. But I truly believe it's in human nature to organize. And by organize, we delegate. And that's why I'm more convinced from this conversation, I'm more convinced than ever before that for those who have an eye on the next evolution of humankind, um, you have to get on the wave of technology and ride it. And there will be this transition period to what Jarrett's talking about, where governments, they'll only do what they know to do. And what any political government or national government, the US, they will like entrench, because that's the prerogative we've delegated them to be. And that's how they selfishly, individually selfishly, but like we have used selfishness of politicians to create national boundaries. They've fought and they get little perks, and Pelosi can trade, and all these people can benefit so long as they keep the boundaries of the United States what it is. And so we've used selfishness at the individual level to enact protections at a national level. And I know that sounds really weird. We can unpack that another day on kind of anthropologically. But now the individuals are saying that's bullshit. We don't want that anymore. We want the next thing. And so I think we will reorganize. So I think we'll use, to your point, Jay, I think we'll use the blockchain to, those of us who are savvy to it, will utilize the blockchain to enact the next level of organization, to redirect our wealth from our current fiat to a global fiat as much as possible. And I think it'll help this species transition over time. You and I will feel like it's not happening fast enough. They'll feel like it's happening way too fast, but the species will get pulled apart, I think. We got a lot of good comments.
Yeah, we got a lot of good comments. Jay, actually, wait, Jay, I'm not sure if it was you or Grant. You asked whether digital dollars or digital currencies will take over fiat currencies. Was that the question?
He paralleled that to blockchain taking over government.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I do think CBDCs are going to come out. They're obviously already out for the digital yuan. I was getting sushi the other day and I asked the guy who was waiting on me, I go there all the time. And I said, hey man, like this is too personal. Tell me to like back off. And I will. Cool. But where are you from? He said, oh, I'm from China. And I said, hey, does your family, do they ever send you digital yuan? Like I know because you're in the United States, you're not supposed to have a wallet, but do you change your dollar? Like, how do you send money home? I was just interested. And he was like, well, I use Western Union because that way he can take cash and then put it into the machine of Western Union and it comes out on yuan on the other side. But, China, and this stat comes from a year ago, but it was about a year ago, China had up to 20 million people already with digital wallets using the digital yuan. And so I asked him and I said, hey, has any of your family ever used it? Because of how big China is, I figured, the chances are slim with 20 million to 1 point whatever billion. And he said, oh yeah. He said, when we walk around in China, we all just have our cell phones. We go into a shop and we just scan codes. He's like, I don't use a wallet anymore. He's like, it's weird now to use cash. And that sounds wild until you realize that the US is working on it. And on my website, jarrettcarpenter.com/crypto, you can go and there's a whole document from the Fed that talks about CBDCs, why they're going to do this. And for me, as like now I'm putting my Bitcoin maxi hat on, it's super scary because the US government can already print money like that by pushing a button. But when it's on the blockchain, they just do whatever they want. Oh, they'll just print, $2 trillion now into circulation to solve this problem. And so I think we're definitely going to do it. Now, is blockchain going to replace government? Before we even get to blockchain replacing government, is the internet replacing government, right? Is there a way that technology can replace government? And I would say from the Cambridge Analytica thing, you're getting really, really close, because you basically had a bunch of people that weaponized Facebook ads in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, and they threw a government election. They influenced, they didn't throw, they influenced the government election in the most powerful country that this world has ever known. So now I'm not saying that that then is running government. There's a difference between conquering and managing, right? But I think they were able to show that the power of big data to influence people is really, really powerful. And even now today, you know, the United States government, and I think Grant touches on this, is just kind of a shell. They're just kind of keeping this thing going so everyone kind of stays in line. But the United States is very complex because there's 50 different countries. I am in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which has very different laws, taxes, everything under the sun from where Grant is. He's in the Sunshine State. So we're in two completely different worlds. And so as we move forward, I don't know if it will replace government, but I do think it will start to enhance government's ability to exert its control. And how they do that, or, you know, its influence, and how they do that is really where I think, you know, darker parts of the internet are really pushing back and being like, this could get crazy, especially if they have control of the CBDC. You know, then they can just print trillions of dollars literally with a keystroke, which they're already doing, but they actually have to, you know, it's a little bit more convoluted now. But we have some really good comments. I love what Tristan has said. He said, similar to the idea of how people love to be alone in public at coffee shops or community workspaces, but in a digital sense. He says, post-COVID, we are all physically isolated while digitally connected, empowering everyone to have the same influence as the, quote, alpha of the world had in a physical pretense, pushing toward the ecocentric rather than egocentric. And that is just, I just absolutely love that.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And then Techi, and Techi, please forgive me if I'm saying your name wrong. Techi jumps in and says China does that in exchange of data, which is scary. They all knew what the people would do. And so that's interesting that once you go to the digital currency, Jarrett.
Yeah. The CBDC. Yeah.
The CBDC. Now you can incentivize. Hey, you know, we'll give you a 10% deduction in taxes or a 10% increase on your next any exchange. You're going to go to the gas station. We'll just dial up 10%, drop it in if you let us use your data.
Yeah.
The government becomes the largest data holder. Go ahead.
Yeah, because the government now knows where you're spending your money. That to me is really, really strange. And then they can do it in real time. If Grant, and especially with China, the situation with China, and I'm going to speak about China as kind of ignorantly as I can, because I've never been there. And I think it's really important to go to a place before you start judging it on what you're reading through any news media. But, you know, it is a country that has pretty good control of their citizens. And so if all of a sudden we're in China and Beijing decides that they don't like not crypto bros, they can all of a sudden freeze our wallets and we're kind of out of the game. Yeah. You know, the control to stop people from doing what they want to do is crazy. And also I think Bitcoin is still banned in China. So
is it?
Yeah, the CBDC
that fell off my radar.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's banned because it's for this exact reason. They don't want sovereign citizens to have their own ability to carry economic energy. They want to control it. And so anyway, we're kind of gone off the rail. We're coming to the end of the hour.
Oh, we are. Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to read what George says here. Transparency is what blockchain is about between people and government. But I like how y'all speak about how they can control the market. It's a very interesting. And as far as the controlling of the market, we eventually, maybe next week or the week after, we're going to talk about the merge, because that is going to dictate what's going to happen with the market, the NFT world, DAOs, just everything under the sun. And globally, we're probably going to see more basis points raised from the Fed with Jerome Powell, which I think is also going to affect crypto, global markets, real estate, bonds, any type of asset. So,
you know, so it's coming to the end of the hour and we're going to do shout outs like we normally do, but don't bail just yet, because a little bit of alpha that was sneak peeked before, but I think we're at the point, and guys, just stop me or correct me if I'm off here. We're talking about opening up another window because there's so much for us to talk about. Your comments are huge and we want to address those and answer those. Some of this stuff is about small business, financial freedom, and other things that we know, the viewers and us know. Crypto and Web3 are touching everything. AI is touching everything. And we all, you and us, need to be equipped. Some of you might know I have small businesses in real estate. Jay and Jarrett have been in small businesses or starting their own projects or moving into Web3 themselves in their own ways. So we want feedback from y'all. Would you guys be interested in another window to maybe get topic specific on small business? Topic specific, like we had today slated to talk about NFTs. And I think we should still unpack that because NFTs are critical, I think, for what's coming next. And I think we could devote whole hours to this. So give us your feedback either in the comments later or DM us and let us know what you want to hear about, because we're talking about opening up another window. We're thinking about maybe Saturday morning. George just says, yes, boys, do this. Pretty much. But shout outs real quick. Jay, are you ready to shout it out?
Yeah, no, I've got some cool shout outs. Shout out to everybody who was sharing the live. So we got a few people who shared the live. So Samuel Gonzalez, Victor shared the live. We didn't see Victor in the comments today, but Victor is supporting us the whole way. Yeah. Jarrett Arms and Roger Williams, they all shared the live. So
thank you.
Shout out to them, helping us to expand the community.
Yeah. This week, I'm gonna shout out Vitalik. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you done, Jay?
No, yeah, I'm good. Go for it.
Okay, sorry. I apologize. I'm going to shout out Vitalik this week myself, and then I'll hand the mic to Jarrett here. I'm shouting out Vitalik for one specific reason, and I meant to share this, especially if we were going to talk about NFTs today. I think I have the link, and I'm going to drop it in the comments here in just a quick second when Jarrett goes, and it's this. Vitalik spoke at ETH Global, which was in Mexico, ETH Mexico, and I alluded to it with the Mexican hat. Some of you saw the meme. Jarrett shared the post. But if you actually saw the talk was building projects worth building. What's worth building? And Vitalik spoke directly to it because everyone's like, build in secret, build in the bear market. And he took 30 minutes of his talk at ETH Global. He could have talked about anything. He could have talked about the merge. And he said, no, I'm not going to talk about it. I want to talk about projects worth building. And I like that message from a person who we know seems a little weird and a little flaky, but he still continues to prove himself that he's trying to focus on, at least in his world, what matters. So my shout out today is to Vitalik saying something reasonable at ETH Global. Jarrett, I'll hand the mic to you.
Yeah, my shout out is for two entities. One is everyone who's been in the comments. Your comments really drive the podcast forward. We all have our own podcasts, and they're a lot more kind of studio or scripted or interviewee, and we just totally feed off your energy, and all the comments today were absolutely amazing. That's one. Go ahead and make sure that you're following us on LinkedIn. Like Grant said earlier, we are trying to crack 150. Follow us on Twitter and follow us on YouTube at Not Crypto Bros. We also have a website for those of you that use the internet at notcryptobros.xyz. And my last shout out is to Jay and Grant, because what a great day. We've done double digits. Our next addition of a digit will be episode 100, which will be incredible. But we made it all the way to episode 10. So good job, boys.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you, everyone. Have a killer day as always. Share the love, share the video, come and join us and give us feedback on what you need to be hearing from next. See you next time.
Peace.
Ciao.